Welcome back to Freezer Tech. In this tutorial we'll be going over sets in Python. This tutorial is a continuation of our Python series that we began earlier. So this will be our last tutorial on data structures in Python. So we'll be going data structures and collections in Python. So we'll be going over sets. So what is a set? A set is a collection in Python having unique values that are unordered and have no index. So the elements, the order in which you input elements into a set is not going to be the same order that you get it out. Okay, so if you input 5 and 2, you might get 2 and then 5. So that's why it is saying unordered, and it has no index, unlike list or dictionary. So you can use as keys to get specific elements out. Sets do not have indexing. Okay, so let's move on to how to create a set in Python. So to create a set is very simple. We just give it an identifier at the and then we give it the curly braces, and then in there we put our different data types separated with a comma. Okay, so that's what a set is in Python. And if you are still not clear of what is a set in Python, let me just clarify more on this. Most of us have come across something like this, maybe in high school or primary school or secondary school, wherever you maybe have come across sets in your mathematical classes. So a set is basically a collection of elements whereby these elements can have intersections with other elements. So let's put that aside now. Let's move on to the very basics of sets, and see how we can create sets, and then later on we'll move about joints and other things in sets. So let's get to it. So I have created tests as sets.py file in Python. I have opened up my Visual Studio Code. So let's get started. So let's now create a simple set. So it's my underscore set, and then the curly braces, we can put in here any value you want. You can any data type, can be list, numbers, or any other data type. Okay, so we can put in here, let's say Java, and then we can put in here 1. Okay, so 1, and then separated by a comma, and then other like that. Okay, so that's what we can do with a set in Python. So it is basically a set. So it's the first way to create a set. Okay, so now that you have created a set, let's move on to another part in this tutorial. How do we access elements in a set? Well, we can't access any specific element from a set, because earlier on I have told you that sets do not have indexes. So there's no way for us to access a specific element within a set, since these sets do not have indexes, and we don't have any unique way of referring to a specific element within a set. So but we can loop through a set and look for a certain element. So let's say, for example, let's say target. So we're looking for our target data, which is Java. Now we want to find if Java exists within our set. So you can say for data in my set, we can print out, okay, if the data exists in my set. Okay, let's just keep this simple. Print out the data. So it's going to look through and print out each and every data that we have within our set. Okay, so now let's bring this here. So it has looked and print out each and every data that we have within our set. Okay, so now let's move on. Something that you can notice is that Java isn't printed out as the first element, but rather is printed out as the last element. But why is this happening? This is what I mean when I tell you that sets are unordered, meaning that the order in which you input the element is not going to be the order in which you output the element. So we inputted Java the first, and then 1, and then 5, but we are getting 1, 5, and then Java. So if you are dealing with data structures that need to behave like queues, like first in first out rule, set is not the ideal thing to use. Okay, so that's what I mean by set is unordered and has no index. Okay, now let's remove this for now, don't need it. So let's check for an existing element in our set. So let me just bring this back. So if, let's write an if statement. This is a longer way of doing it. There's another shorter way which I will show you just in a second. If data equals to target, our target value, we should print found. Okay, so if we are going to look through each element and then we check if that element is equal to our target value. If it is, we'll print found. Okay, so let's run this. We get found because Java exists within our element. Now let's change this to Python. So if I run this code, what do you think we'll get? We get no output because this if block is never executed, since there's no such element as Java as Python within our set. Okay, so the easiest way to check for an element is actually using the in operator. So to do this, you can say if, we can say target my underscore set is print found. Okay, so if target is in our set, we're supposed to print found, else we print not found. Okay, so let's run this code. This is what we get. Is Python in our list? No, so we get not found. But if I change this to Java, what do you think output will be? Okay, let's change this to Java and then we run again. Let's see, we get found because Java exists within our list. So we can use the in operator to check if certain data exists within our set. Okay, so let's move on. Excuse me. So in this other part of the tutorial, we're going to go over the different methods that we can use with sets. So we have gone over how to look through sets, and we have learned that you can't access specific elements, and we have learned that sets are unordered. So now let's see the different methods that we can use with sets. So let's go over the first one. So my set dot pop okay, the pop method. What do you think the pop method would do? The pop method, if we run it, let's see what we get. Okay, now let me print this out. Print out my set, my underscore set. Okay, I will just copy this and paste it over here. Now I'll show you why I did this. Okay, let me run this. You see, within the first print statement, we caught all elements which are in there, but within the second print statement, we did not get one. Why? Because the pop method is used to remove element out of the list. Now it's really confusing. Which element does it remove? Does it remove the first element or the last element? Let's change this to 9 and let's see what will happen. It has removed Java. So it removes elements based on the certain random order if you use the pop method. So this pop method, I don't advise you to use it because it removes elements within random order. Okay, now why that random order? You can see that within our print statement, the first element is Java and then 9 and then 5, but in our first print statement we get Java 5 and then 9. This brings us back to the point that sets are unordered. So before it prints it out, it arranges it in a certain order. 9 is still in our output. So let's change this back to 1 and let's see what we get. We get 1 and 5. So what is the trend that we can see among these? The trend that we are seeing is that it removes the first element out of our list. So this round, the first element was 9, so it removed 9, leaving behind 5, and so the pop removes the first element, not the last element. As I said previously, that was an error. So it removes the last element based on the random order of which the output is printed out. Okay, so the pop method is very random, so I advise you not to use it, but in case you need random operations you can use it. So let's move on to the remove method, which I advise you to use. So the remove method takes an element that you want to remove. So let's say you want to remove Java. So let's run this code and see what we get. So this is before removing it, Java. Now the new element after removing Java. So you can specify which exact element that you want to remove, okay, by using the remove method. Now another way to do this is there is a discard method. So now let's run discard method. Discard method will do the same thing as the remove method. Now what is the difference between discard method and remove method? Why should we have two methods that do basically the same thing? Okay, now let's go back to the remove method. So let me type in here Python. Okay, let me just type in Python. Let's go Python. Let me type in Python. Let's try to remove Python, but you can know that Python isn't in our set, so we get an error. Okay, now let's try to use the discard method. Now let's run this method and see what we get. We actually did not get anything. We did not get any error, and our program ran just fine. Why? So if you use the remove method and we try to remove something that it doesn't exist within our list, we get an error. But if we use the discard method and we do try to remove something that does not exist, we don't get an error. Okay, so this one prevents your program from crashing or getting an error in case the element you're trying to remove does not exist within our set, while the remove method will cause your program to throw an error if that element doesn't exist. So that is the difference between remove and discard. Okay, now another thing we can use is the clear method. So use clear. So if you run this, let's see what we get. The clear method will remove everything out of our set. So now we print, we get an empty set. Okay, now that is the different ways that we can remove elements out of our set. So let's try to remove, let's say you want to delete a whole set. So you just use the del method and specify the element that you want to delete. So now let's print my set. What do you think will happen? Will this program run successfully, or will it throw us an error? We get an error because my set is not defined. Do you know why? Because we have already deleted it. So we are trying to print something that we've already deleted. But if I bring this statement up here, we can see we get the set and our program does not crash, because before this statement, when we executed this statement, set existed and it was defined as a set, but after this it doesn't exist anymore. So if you bring this print statement here, that's why our program was saying the set was undefined. So that's how you can delete sets in Python. Okay, so sets, let's have another set here. This set will have integers 1, 2, okay, 3 and 4. Let's have another set. Let's call it my underscore set 2 will be equals to another set element. It will have 5, 6, 7 and 8. So let's also put in here 5. Okay, and there should be 9. Okay, now we can see these two sets. What is the common element between the two sets that we have? The common elements, or the common index, the common number is 5, right? Integer is 5. So now let's imagine that you're trying to create a program and you want to find the common element between two sets. Let me just bring you back here. You see, this is our first set, this circle here. So everything within this circle exists within our first set, and our first set has 1 through 5. So over here we have 1 through 5 in our first set, and then think of this other circle as our second set, and it has 5, 6, 7 and 8 also, okay, which is this set over here. So now there is something that is common within these two sets, and that is a common element, which is 5. So that's why where these sets intersect, they intersect at integer 5. So now let's try to get that in Python. Write a program that to get us the value of of that is common between both of them. So to get that, you just specify one of your indexes. So my set dot intersect. Where does it intersect with my set 2? So what is the common values between these two sets? That is the intersection value. So if you run this will return to us a set containing that value. So we get a set having the value of 5. So that's how we can find common element between two sets using the intersection method. Okay, now let's move on to our other method, which is, this is the join method. So the join method joins two sets together, like basically adds two sets together, but remove all the duplicates values out. So we are going to join these two sets, and then it's going to return to us a new set. So we call it final. It will be equals to the joint of this one. So if I write Python here final, it will actually print a joint of these two sets, removing the duplicate values. We know that the 5 existed twice, but on the point of joining them, only one 5 is inserted. Duplicate values are eliminated. Okay, so if you join two sets together, duplicate values will be eliminated. Okay, so that is one method. So let's move on to the update method. The update method is used to update a set. So for example, let's have in here set my set 1, and then we try to update it. So just update, and then we put in here an iterable. So let's try to update it with 6, 7, 8, and 9. So now if you print the my set, we're supposed to get values that go on until 9. So if you see here, we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, 9. So the update method takes in a list and then appends those lists to an already existing set. Okay, so that's how we work with the update method. So we have already looked over the intersection method, and then we have looked over okay, we didn't look over the clear method. So the clear method, okay, clear. So the clear method, it basically just removes everything out of our set. So if we print this now, we get an empty set over here. Okay, so that's what the clear method does. So let's move on to the set constructor. So in Python, you have a set constructor that can take in other data types and return to us a set. So for example, let's say my underscore set will be equals to, so to get the set constructor, just set and then this one, and then you put in an iterable. It will take that iterable and return to you a list, I mean a set. Okay, so let's move on. Let's take in okay, let's give it a list. So this list will be 5 to just some random numbers, 3. So now if we try to print my set, what do you think we'll get? Will we get a set or will we get a list? So we get, let's run and then we see what we get. Okay, so now we can see here we get a set and not a list. So it takes basically this iterable and changes into a set and then returns to us that set. Okay, so that's how the set constructor works. You can not only put in a list, you can also put in tuples and other iterables. So you can also put in your tuples and it should work just fine. So you see we get the same output. Okay, so let's move on. So with sets, one most important thing that you have to know about sets is that sets do not allow duplicate values. Okay, yeah, so sets do not allow duplicate values within elements. So this is one tip that you're supposed to know. So let me just show you another tip. If you want to find more about sets, you can just type in the help method within your Visual Studio Code or Python interpreter and then type in here sets. set. So it brings for you documentation containing all the various methods. Let me just open this up. Documentation contain various methods and everything that you need to know about sets. So this is a very good documentation. You can really see that tens or hundreds or tens of methods that we didn't even go over. So this, you can get more information by reading this docs here. Just type help and then you type in what you want. For this does not only work with set, it works with any other object in Python. Just go over in the help place and then type in what you want to find out about. So this brings us to the end of our tutorial. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel. If you have any question, you can leave in the comment section below. I'll do my best to get back to you, or you can follow me on Instagram at FreeZotech. In the next tutorial, we'll be going over functions in Python. So see you there. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Just hit that like button. It really encourages me to keep doing this video. So just like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.